to enter the NFL draft early. Um, what's the, obviously without being specific on different guys, but what's your process? How do you deal with that as a coach?
Honesty and transparency, making sure we gather and provide all information relevant to a draft status, share it with them, with families, so that they can sit down and make the best decision for themselves. But making sure that everything we give them is very accurate, right? It's a very noisy world postseason for these guys. People come at them from all angles. Everybody wants a piece of them and their future earnings and, their trajectory and all that other stuff. And it's important that with everything as it relates to their education, their future life after football, that we're providing them with some really, really good information, accurate information from the right sources. So again, that they can make their best educated decision for their future.
Are you proactive and go to most of the guys you think maybe whatever, or you wait till they come to you?
We're always proactive with that. We always want to try our best to keep the main thing, which is playing football, playing the season, and making sure that we have some mechanisms in place so that once the time is right to be able to speak openly and honestly about everyone's particular situation. Everyone is different. Everyone has different needs and wants, and certainly everyone has a different status. So.
I think that the other thing just with that has is kind of a little bit similar, but as far as the bowl game goes, I know in this day and age now some guys say, I'm not playing in the bowl game. Do you have any opinions on that in general, players that skip the bowl game?
Opinions in terms of?
Some coaches think you should, I remember Mark Rick thought it would be a good thing to just, you're loyal to your team, you should play the bowl game. Do you have any opinions on that kind of?
In my opinion, anytime you have a chance to play football, you play football. That's never going to change. Do I judge people? I don't do that. I don't believe in that. We're no one to judge. But always encourage it, push it, because you never know when you are not going to be able to play again, and you're not guaranteed another day of football, no matter who you are, no matter what your status might be. So, and I believe in closing it out the right way. So that hopefully that answers the question.
Mario, you can't speak for the world, I get that, but do you think there is enough appreciation or understanding of some of this conference? BC's a good football, Syracuse's a good football team, just have the Wake's good team, they're 1-6 in the conference. It's hard to win in this conference now. There's no easy Saturdays in this conference. Do you think there's an understanding of that?
I don't know. I know that I haven't been in different conferences, actually 3 conferences in the last, 8 years. The teams in this conference are as good as the ones in any conference that I've coached at, and it's really interesting that the caliber of quarterback play is really high. I thought the level of the trench play in this conference is really, really good. Everybody has good 3 techniques. Everybody has good edge rushers, guys that can play man coverage. The pieces that you look for to establish a team. Great running backs. But back to the other part, the pieces that you look for to get teams rolling and give yourself a chance to win football games, just about everybody has them, in some way, shape, or form or the other. Now, some areas on some teams are a little bit more advanced than others. Certainly we're putting our roster together and developing our roster, from within with talent acquisition as best we can. But I think top to bottom, this is an excellent league that can compete with anybody. And I think the record shows that against other conferences.
Mario, you mentioned that Elijah looks like he'll be back this week. How much has him being out this year, or for most of the year, affected just using tight ends in the passing game? He's a big threat in the passing game. You guys have targeted tight ends, not very much this season.
Yeah, he's one of our best players. He really is. And even last year when he was lost, it drastically affected what we do and how we do things. He looked really good today, so we're very excited about his return. Just want to get to Friday and make sure that he's out there and everything goes as planned. He's been through a lot, being nicked up and being legitimately injured a year ago. But no, he's a dynamic football player and a great team leader, great human being as well. So he's been sorely missed. So looking forward to having him back.
And Jaleel Skinner, flashed a little bit at times last year. Hasn't really been on the field on offense a ton this season. What does he need to do to get on the field more?
Approach to the game has to be a lot more diligent. He's a really good young man. He's a talented young man. He could run. He's a little bit thin, but he's working on his body. I think he has a really bright future. Just has to go all in on what it takes to be a great football player at that position. You have to be good at the line of scrimmage, and you have to be good detached. You got to be able to have great balance and body control and track the football, because if you're that size, you want to be able to make contested catches, those big body throws, right? Those back shoulder fades and those, deep balls where you just jump over people. So we challenge him daily. Going to keep challenging daily because he has to get more out of himself, and we need to get more out of him for him to be a productive player in our system. But he's a good young man.
Didn't get a chance to ask you after the game Saturday. It sort of seemed fitting that at the end it was Restrepo that almost made an impossible play. And there's probably where he was too small to play this level of college. He probably was too small to play in high school even. And yet convinced the game was like the second to last game of his college career. What impact is the work ethic that kid's had? You're going to have on the room.
When you work hard, hard work works. I think overall as a receiver room, we got to keep pushing. We got to keep grinding. We have developed. We have certainly progressed and advanced. And we need to keep pushing that. We need to keep pushing, working just as hard in the run game as we do in the pass game, because that usually is a difference in explosive runs, right? Getting blocks downfield and whatnot. And so Restrepo definitely had a really good game last game. We want to see more consistency out of the entire receiving core. We want to push them more. Anytime we go over anything of the nature of improving, getting better, something that wasn't so well, we always say the same thing. We're going to work on it together. We're going to get better together. And that's certainly the case for that group. There's potential in there, and we got to get more out of it.
Dax, when you got here, end of 2021, he had only kind of played in mostly like a reserve role. He comes in, he's hurt last year. Now he's, approaching 900 yards in the season, and a chance to get to 1,000. How have you seen him grow over the course of the last 2 years?
Just works at it, certainly works at it. That position in this offense, Coach Dawson, in his previous stop, that was a leading receiver in the country, and certainly one of the better players in the NFL, one of the higher draft picks, because you find a way to create matchups, soft spots in the defense, and the ball is designed to go somewhere on every single play, and it's systematic where the ball's out, and there is somewhere to go with it. And if you're very disciplined at that position, the ball's going to find you, more times than not. And so he's made the most of his opportunities. He's a hard worker, and I'm going to push him. He needs to be pushed, like everybody else, to continue to do everything possible to be the best leader he can be, And I'm going to demand that of everybody, because with all the things that we've done to progress and get better, and us looking for that next step, and you've got to lean heavily on guys that are producing and playing well and push them to get more out of them. There's more in everybody, and we're going to push that.
And then on a total different subject, Mike Norvell said earlier today that a lot of coaches reached out to him about Jordan Travis and the injury he suffered the other day. I was curious if you were one of them, if you said anything to Coach Norvell or about that situation.
A lot of times I don't reach out to coaches personally just because of the hustle and bustle of the day. I can tell you that he is in our thoughts and prayers, and personally in mine.
Please don't come over the second round train I out with this, but you don't strive for 65. Obviously, you're here for 7 minutes. When you go through this, and you look at what you went through last year, when you go through what you went through this year, what you're going through this year, what still keeps that fire going? What is saying that still has you get out of bed, get out of the yard, get out of that, and do what you do?
Oh, it's a reality of progress. I think a lot of times we probably don't dive into it as much because it's not really my job or place to dive into starting points, right? Every program has a different starting point, and we came here a million miles per hour, and that's not going to stop. And we left the program at a different starting point than the program we came into. And the fact that the amount of progress that has taken place over the course of the last 18, 20 months has us really excited because it's real. There's no, not making up anything. There's no created narratives. There is the reality of work. There's a reality of improvement. There's a reality of closing the gap. There's a reality of talent development. There's a reality of talent acquisition. systems developing, right? All of a sudden our offenses and defense are in the top 25, top 30. All of a sudden it's a fourth quarter game every single week, and we're finding a way to win in overtime or come up short. So everything is really just closed, in terms of that gap. And that is exciting because these are, I've said this before, these are unfortunately steps that you cannot skip. We'd like to, and we like to grab every win, and we don't find consolation in anything but that. But also been around long enough and in enough of these processes to know what's real and what's not. This one is real, and I think it's reflected in our players, as hard as they play, the way they play to the end. It's reflecting the way that we're continuing to recruit at a high level because people understand and see, whoa, Miami is really becoming different again. So it's pretty much that simple. But
Yeah, okay, sorry. Well, first of all, the weather, this week, I know weather coaches mostly don't like to talk about that, but it is a lot colder in Boston, and a lot of your players who grew up here and aren't used to that.
right.
Is there any way you can prepare them for that? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we went right at it. We challenged the entire organization to be better and understand and realize that that's kind of the narrative, right? Guys in South Florida don't want to hop on a plane and, they don't want to mix it up and slug it out in cold weather on turf, And there's an old saying at a place I worked at that there's no such thing as bad weather, only soft people, right? So you have a choice in this thing, right? And at the end of the day, that film is going to show who is a tough, SOB, and who is a real competitor, and who's going to buckle and fold, And we expect a great challenge and nothing but the very best out of Boston College, and we expect nothing but the very best out of ourselves. We've worked hard, we've trained hard, we've had some really good moments, some other disappointing moments. The right guys are going to be on that plane and are going to be on that field on Friday.
That's only because I don't know when we'll see you again after Friday. But it used to be that when you made a bowl, those 15 practices meant a lot. And I don't know when you're going to play, you don't know if you're going to get the full 15 or not. Is that kind of an overstated opinion of getting that extra practice time, or is it something that still is?
No, that's very important. And it's using them the right kind of way, right? Because your team physically could be at different stages. Sometimes your team is relatively healthy, sometimes you're banged up, but there's a lot of things you could work on. You could work on situational football. You could dedicate full days to special teams. You could dedicate full days to 2-minute drill. You could dedicate it to your one-on-one work, competitive drills, right? Which are it's always a game changer when you just play the game the way you always play since you were a kid. So there's a lot that goes with that, but you have plenty of time to game plan and prepare for that opponent. You don't want to prepare for that opponent 15 days out, right? Unfortunately, human nature is what it is. You can get bored, right? And all of a sudden your sense of urgency declines a little bit. So they're used the right way. Some days are used for strength and conditioning. Some days are used for legitimate team activities, legitimate connecting, bonding activities. They're really valuable days. Think about it, spring ball is 15 days long. We don't have OTAs like the NFL does, right? So this is like an advanced calendar that allows you to do some of those things without wearing your team out. I would say, it's a little bit different because you have finals. You got to spread things out a little bit. Holidays might be in the middle or might be part of the bowl. You've got to be really selective. You got to really map it out. We have like 4 or 5 different maps depending on where we end up playing. And then the opportunity to play a quality opponent, right? And find out more about your team and go compete and go improve, And, certainly when the bowl gets here, we'll be all over and talking about the bowl. But right now, every ounce of effort and focus is on Boston College.
Obviously, you said Tyler, first you said Tyler, had good weeks of practice the last couple of weeks, and then I know you said on Saturday that he's been very, very determined to, get back into form and stuff. Obviously, you don't know what's going to happen, though, until you get out there for a game. Is there a moment during the game you're like, okay, he's back to where he was previously?
I thought when he took off with the ball and got us 8-9 yards, stepped up in the pocket, take away the flat route, take away the corner route, boom, 2nd and 2. That's being decisive, and that's just playing ball, right? That's understanding at the end of the day, move the sticks, score points. So You know, look, football is kind of, it's unforgiving, right? And sometimes unpredictable, and sometimes guys go through rough patches, but you don't let him eat it all by himself. You make sure you take accountability and ownership as an entire program and reassess, right? And go from there. You know, wherever it takes you, but make every decision as it relates to what's best for the team. That's it. Nothing else important.
Sorry. I still misread it.
Working on it.
We probably only know some of what he's dealt with this year, but he got drilled a couple times Saturday. He was slow to play a couple times Saturday. That didn't even happen until the message game that Saturday.
Tough competitor, you know. Quarterback, again, being a quarterback, you got to have thick skin. Being a quarterback in Miami, double up, right? All good.
Logistics side of things with, Thanksgiving holiday Thursday, flying up that day for the game on Friday. Are you guys celebrating the holiday as a team somehow? Are you guys doing anything for Thanksgiving?
Celebrating the holiday?
Doing anything,
I mean, we don't want to trip the faint ourselves out, up there. So, I mean, on Wednesday, we'll do what resembles a Thanksgiving meal. We're very grateful for the things that we have. At the end of the day, that's the biggest challenge, is making sure we all play for that that's on all these chairs, right? That's what we all signed up for. And we have to show gratitude for that. And the best way to show it is by the way we play, by the way we go to class, by the way we earn our diploma. Like being real, This is not just a bunch of independent contractors showing up to, hey, what can I do today for myself? It's got to be still about the program itself. And there's a lot to be grateful for. We'll do that on Wednesday, right after practice. And Wednesday is really a Thursday. On Thursday, we will travel, get up there and do our normal routine. And Friday, wake up early and go right to it.
Mario, what are some of the things that make Boston College a challenge for you guys, a tough challenge?
Sure. Well, I think it starts with their physicality. Both the offense and defensive line are big, strong guys. They knock you back. Offensively, they just give you a lot of different pictures, right? I mean, they could line up with 9 offensive linemen, or they can slip some tight end jerseys on linemen, or they can spread you out. The quarterback can run, he can throw. Their boots and wags are challenging. Their quarterback run game is challenging. Their vertical play action shots are challenging. Defensively, field fire, internal fires. When I say fires, blitzes, some of the corner pressures, secondary pressures they bring. When you get down tighter into some of their stuff, they'll pull the trigger and play cover 0, bring an extra guy and try to hit the quarterback. And they're very disciplined. Like, they understand their leverages, they keep them, they have really good eye discipline. And when they put together complete games, it's been really impressive. But that's just a very well-coached team, and a team that's, I believe it's Coach Hafley's 4th season, a team that you could tell has been together for 4 years.
Do you have any memories of, I know obviously you were a big UM fan growing up, of the Health Louis game? Yeah. Do you remember that when you were a kid?
What?
Your thoughts?
I'd rather not relive that game, I'd rather not relive that game, but I remember that. I remember playing up there. I remember being in a tight game up there, I remember, gosh, you name it. I mean, seemed like every single game with Boston College was always a knockout, drag-out type of game. So why would we expect anything else? Now, our players haven't really had that opportunity to play Boston College, and that's what we have been emphasizing all week long. This is, in essence, this is a rivalry game. This has always been like, all right, the guys up there up north and the guys from down south, sometimes you got to play in the hot weather when you're used to the cold, and sometimes the vice versa. Well, we're going up there, to their territory, their place. So tremendous amount of respect for them, and looking forward to a great game. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.